After a terrible car accident, I called my dad and asked him to pick me up from the ER. He texted back, "I'm at lunch with your stepmom, can't just leave." I replied, "Okay." What the police officer said when they approached his table at the restaurant made him wish he hadn't left me waiting. Imagine bleeding out in an emergency room, barely clinging to life after a horrific car crash, and the one person you call, your own father, texts you back, "I'm at lunch. Call an Uber." That 11-word message didn't just break my ribs. It shattered his entire empire, and for the first time I finally chose myself. Hey everyone, I'm Caroline, 28, and this isn't just a story about a car crash. It's about how one selfish choice finally shattered a man's life and woke me up. You see that glass tower piercing Seattle skyline? That's Irwin Holdings. 42 floors of ambition, built on my grandfather's legacy, and if I'm honest, mostly on my sweat. Just a few days before everything blew up, I was alone in my corner office, staring at blurry city lights. I was reviewing the blueprints for our $15 million waterfront tower project, a project that was mine. On my desk there was this old photo, mom, dad, and me at my college graduation. That was 5 years before cancer took her, back when my dad, Tyler Irwin, still remembered he had a daughter, not just an unpaid senior architect doing his work. My phone buzzed. It was Tyler. "Caroline, sweetheart," he cooed, that practiced warmth in his voice, the one he saved for clients. "About your birthday dinner tomorrow." I cut him off. "Let me guess. Charlotte has another crisis." He chuckled. "She's having a difficult time with the penthouse renovation delays. You understand, don't you? We'll reschedule." That we stung. It was the third birthday dinner he'd canceled this year. The seventh important moment Charlotte's fake emergencies had stolen since they got married 3 years ago. "Of course, Dad," I said, the words tasting like ash. "Charlotte needs you." I watched the cleaning crew through my office window. They'd seen this show before. Tyler parading my designs as collaborative family efforts, while Charlotte, his trophy wife, whispered venom about nepotism and hinted at fresh talent to replace me. I went back to my files, typing in my private encryption password. It was the date Mom died. A date Tyler had conveniently forgotten 2 years ago. In 36 hours, these blueprints would secure the biggest contract in company history. If only I'd known that in 36 hours I'd be dying too. Everything would have been different. The next morning I was at the office before dawn like always. An email from Tyler, addressed to the Waterfront Investment Group, confirmed my role as lead architect. "Caroline Irwin's designs and expertise are the cornerstone of our proposal." It read. "All final approvals must go through her." I screenshotted it immediately. That was Marcus Coleman's advice. Marcus, our company's legal partner and my unofficial mentor, had been leaving me breadcrumbs for months. "Document everything, Caroline. Your father's memory gets very selective when Charlotte whispers in his ear." The irony was bitter. Charlotte, who constantly complained about my nepotism, had no idea that her replacement target was the only one who truly understood the company's technical backbone. The morning board meeting was classic theater. Tyler presented my stress tests, my sustainable designs, while I sat silently, the beautiful daughter playing corporate ghost. The board praised Tyler. Then Charlotte, ever so subtly, squeezed his hand, then looked at me, a fake smile playing on her lips. "Though I still think we should consider fresh perspectives. Perhaps that firm from Portland I mentioned?" Tyler didn't respond, but I noted it in my phone. Another seed planted. Another receipt collected. This pattern was so predictable I could set my watch by it. Charlotte's emergencies had been a 3-year masterclass in manipulation. The migraine during my promotion review. The anxiety attack mid-presentation to Japanese investors. The suspicious food poisoning during my architectural awards ceremony. Each time Tyler would rush to her side, abandoning me to salvage the situation. My coworkers had developed a silent language of sympathy. Chocolate on my desk. Head shaking. Bets on her next sabotage. Tyler would always explain. "Your stepmother's having a rough time adjusting. Humble beginnings." Humble beginnings? I'd Googled Charlotte Winters before she became Charlotte Irwin. Twice divorced, both times to older executives, both marriages ending just before prenups expired. Her LinkedIn reinvented itself every few years. Yoga instructor, life coach, interior designer, and now suddenly, creative director at Irwin Holdings, despite never designing anything. That afternoon she swept into my office, her perfume a toxic cloud. "Caroline, darling," she cooed, admiring her nails. "Tyler and I were discussing the presentation. Perhaps someone with more stage presence should handle it. Some people are meant for the spotlight, others for shadows." I kept typing. "The client specifically requested me to present." She just smiled. "Requests can be redirected. Tyler listens to me." And she wasn't wrong. Later that evening, Marcus intercepted me at the elevator, his face grim. "Coffee," he said, not a question. In the empty cafeteria, he slid his phone across the table. An email thread. "Charlotte to a headhunting firm. Looking for a senior architect. Immediate start. Must relocate from Portland. Current position holder will be transitioned out post-waterfront signing." My stomach dropped. She was already recruiting my replacement. "Your father doesn't know yet," Marcus said. "But he will. Charlotte's been poisoning his ear for months about your emotional instability, since your mother's death, your inability to work with teams." Then he slid a USB drive to me. "Every email about your contributions, every design credit, every board acknowledgement. I've been backing them up. Why? I whispered, pocketing the drive. He paused. Because your mother asked me to look out for you before she died. And because I've seen this pattern before. Your father has a weakness for women who remind him he's powerful. Charlotte knows exactly which buttons to push. The waterfront deadline is in 48 hours, I said. They can't replace me before then. Marcus's expression darkened. Caroline, after that contract is signed, what leverage do you have left? I didn't answer. We both knew the truth. Absolutely none. Unless something drastically changed. November 15th dawned gray and drizzly, mirroring my mood. My 2 years of blood, sweat, and design, the waterfront project, sat beside me on the passenger seat. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Remember gala tomorrow, 8 p.m. 4 Seasons. Don't be attention-seeking. Charlotte will handle speeches. Your technical support only. Don't overshadow her moment. Her moment. For my project. I typed back. Understood. I deleted 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Probably another headhunter. Charlotte sicked on me. The rain turned into a downpour as I merged onto I-5. Marcus's warning echoed in my mind. After tomorrow night's signing, you'll be expendable. Charlotte would win. Tyler would have his contract. And I'd have what? A pat on the head from a father who couldn't remember my birthday. My phone rang again. Tyler. Caroline, confirmed server passwords are updated. Clients want one last review. Already done, I said, watching brake lights ahead. Only my badge can access final files. Good. Charlotte's nervous. Make everything perfect. Of course Charlotte was nervous. Her entire performance hinged on my work. Dad, I blurted. After tomorrow, after the contract's signed, what happens to me? The pause that followed spoke volumes. We'll discuss your future after the gala. The line went dead. Just then, an 18-wheeler jackknifed it across 3 lanes. A writhing metal serpent. Its trailer swung towards my Accord with horrifying inevitability. Time stretched. I saw raindrops. Counted rivets. Saw the terror in the truck driver's eyes. Then, impact. My car crumpled like paper. The passenger side caved in. I spun. Waterfront documents exploded like confetti. The windshield spiderwebbed. My ribs snapped like pencils. Agony. Then stillness. Rain drumming on the twisted metal. Blood ran warm down my face, tasting of copper. My left arm hung at an impossible angle. Each breath was like swallowing glass. A wet wheeze, my lung protesting. Ma'am? Can you hear me? A face appeared at my shattered window. A Seattle PD officer. Rain streaming off her hat. Officer Hayes. Don't move. Fire department's coming to cut you out. Can't breathe, I gasped. Panic rising with the blood in my throat. You're going to be okay, she said, though her eyes said otherwise. She reached through the window, taking my good hand. What's your name? Caroline Irwin. Someone we can call? Family. My father. I choked out Tyler's number. She dialed. 20 minutes. That's how long it took them to cut me free. Each second an eternity of pain, metal screaming and rain. Paramedics moved with urgent, practiced hands. 3 broken ribs, possible punctured lung, definite concussion, internal bleeding likely, one told Officer Hayes. She's lucky to be conscious. Hayes climbed into the ambulance with me. Your father didn't answer. Another number. I gave her his private cell, the one he always answered. The one for Charlotte. For important clients. As the doors closed, I heard her leaving a voicemail. Mr. Irwin, this is Officer Patricia Hayes with Seattle PD. Your daughter's been in a serious accident on I-5. Transported to Harborview Trauma. Please come immediately. The siren wailed. And all I could think was, he'll come. Of course he'll come. He has to, The trauma bay reeked of antiseptic and fear. They'd stabilized me. Chest tube, 17 stitches, morphine, but nothing dulled the deep ache of 3 broken ribs. Officer Hayes surprisingly stayed. Your father still isn't answering. Another way to reach him? She asked. He's probably in a meeting. I wheezed, each word an effort. It was 11:47 a.m. Try texting. She did. Nothing. 12:15 I asked for my phone. My good hand shook as I dialed Tyler. It rang once, twice, then disconnected. He declined the call. The nurse tried to be kind. Maybe he doesn't recognize the hospital number. I tried again. This time it went straight to voicemail. He turned his phone off. He didn't want to talk to me. I'll text him, I said, fingers clumsy on the screen. It took enormous effort to type. Dad, I'm in the car accident. Please come. The response came within 30 seconds. At important lunch with Charlotte. Can't just leave. Call an Uber. The nurse read it over my shoulder. Her sharp intake of breath said everything. Officer Hayes just stopped, professionalism warring with disbelief. I stared at those 11 words, rereading them, willing them to rearrange into something that made sense. But they didn't. Charlotte's monthly crisis lunch was more important than his daughter's actual crisis. There must be a misunderstanding, the nurse whispered. Should I call him? Explain the severity. No, I rasped. Something cold and hard was forming in my chest, a pain far deeper than my broken ribs. He made his choice perfectly clear. Officer Hayes looked at me for a long moment. Anyone else? Anyone at all? Marcus Coleman, I said. But even as she dialed, I wasn't thinking about Marcus. I was thinking about those waterfront files, the ones only I could access. Marcus arrived within 20 minutes. His face drained of color at the sight of me and the machines. Jesus Christ, Caroline, how bad? 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, grade 2 concussion, I recited mechanically. But apparently, not bad enough to interrupt lunch. He'd already seen Tyler's text. Officer Hayes had shown him, probably hoping he could explain such incomprehensible behavior. He couldn't. I'll call him myself, Marcus said, reaching for his phone. Don't. The word came out sharper than I intended. Just don't. My phone buzzed with work emails, the outside world oblivious to my condition. 14 messages from the development team. Need final waterfront files for tomorrow's review. I looked at Marcus. What time's the gala tomorrow? 8 p.m. But Caroline, you can't possibly. The contract deadline is 5 p.m. tomorrow, I continued, my mind sharp despite the morphine. If the final files aren't submitted, it triggers a penalty clause. 30% of the contract value. That's $4.5 million. Only you can access them, Marcus said slowly, understanding dawning. Your batch. Your passwords. Tyler's been texting, I said, showing him my phone. 6 messages in the last hour, escalating from professional to panicked. Need those files ASAP. Caroline, this is urgent. Stop being petty about lunch. Answer your phone. This is about the company, not personal issues. You're being unprofessional. I turned off my phone completely. The small power down chime was oddly satisfying. Caroline, Marcus said carefully, you're angry. You're hurt. But destroying the company. I'm not destroying anything, I replied, settling back against the pillows. I'm simply prioritizing my recovery. After all, I wouldn't want to interrupt anyone's important lunch plans. Marcus studied my face. Then a slow smile. Your mother would be proud. By 6 p.m., Tyler had called me 23 times. Marcus sat in the visitor's chair, providing a play-by-play as Tyler's messages to him grew increasingly unhinged. He says the IT team can't crack your password, Marcus reported. They've been trying for 3 hours. It's biometric and password combined, I said. Mom's death date plus my fingerprint. Even Tyler doesn't remember when she died anymore. Marcus's phone rang again. He put it on speaker. Marcus, where the hell is Caroline? Tyler's voice, tight with panic, filled the room. She's not answering anyone. She's indisposed, Marcus replied, perfectly even. Indisposed. We have 15 million on the line. The clients are flying in. Tell her to stop playing games and upload those goddamn files. In the background, Charlotte chimed in. I told you she was unstable, Tyler. This is deliberate sabotage. Fire her and hire someone professional. I can't fire her until after she uploads the files. Tyler snapped, the first time I'd ever heard him raise his voice to Charlotte. Then make her. Charlotte shrieked. Threaten her. Bribe her. I don't care. Do something. Marcus. Tyler's voice dropped to a desperate plea. Please. Whatever she wants. A raise, a promotion, a corner office. Just get her to respond. Have you considered, Marcus said slowly, that she might actually be unable to respond? That your text about calling an Uber might have been premature? Silence. Then. What text? What are you talking about? The one where you told your injured daughter to take an Uber from the emergency room. That's ridiculous. I would never. Charlotte, give me my phone. Muffled arguing. Then Tyler again. I need to go, but Marcus, fix this. Whatever it takes. The call ended. Marcus looked at me. He doesn't even remember sending it. Guys, if you've ever felt taken for granted or had your hard work ignored, hit that like button and type hashtag Team Caroline in the comments. Now let's see what desperate measures he tries next. Marcus returned the next morning, coffee in hand, but his face was grim. He laid a folder on my bed. I did some digging last night, he said. About your mother's last wishes. Mom's been gone 5 years, Marcus. Yes, but her attorney hasn't. He opened the folder. Elena wanted to divorce Tyler. Did you know that? The words hit harder than the truck. What? 6 months before her diagnosis, she'd filed preliminary papers, citing emotional abandonment and infidelity. Then the cancer came and she reconsidered. She didn't want to leave you alone with him. I stared at the papers, my mother's bold signature. She stayed for me. She protected me as long as she could. Marcus pulled out another document. A notarized statement about my contributions to the company, dated just before she died. She knew Tyler would try to sideline you eventually. Why didn't you tell me before? Because you weren't ready to hear it. You still had hope he'd choose you. He gestured to my hospital bed. I think that hope died yesterday at lunch. My phone turned back on for medical updates buzzed. A video message from Tyler. His face was haggard, desperate. Caroline, sweetheart. Misunderstanding. I didn't realize you were seriously hurt. Charlotte told me it was minor. Please, the company needs you. I need you. Just upload the files, and we'll discuss everything after the gala. Behind him, in a mirror's reflection, Charlotte rolled her eyes. Let him sink, Marcus murmured. Your mother would understand. I deleted the message. Tell me about the gala security, I said. Who's handling it? Marcus slowly smiled. Meanwhile, Charlotte decided to take matters into her own manicured hands. My head nurse, Patricia, came in looking incredulous. There's a very persistent woman in the lobby, claiming to be your stepmother. She's demanding your personal belongings and saying you've been terminated. Through the door I saw Charlotte, gesticulating wildly at security, her designer bag swinging. She's also, Patricia continued, trying to convince them you're mentally unstable and stole company property. Should I call Officer Hayes? Patricia asked. No, I said, an idea forming. Let her in. But stay close. Charlotte swept in like a designer tornado, her perfume overwhelming the antiseptic. She stopped short, seeing my injuries, the chest tube, the bruising. My God, she breathed, then quickly recovered. Well, this is what happens when you drive recklessly. The truck driver ran a red light, I said calmly. The police report confirms it. She waved dismissively. Whatever. I need your company badge and passwords. You're being terminated for dereliction of duty. On whose authority? Mine. As creative director. You can't fire me, Charlotte. Only the board can terminate a senior architect, and only with a 2/3 vote. Her face flushed. Then give me the files. The presentation is in 27 hours. I'm medically incapacitated. Doctor's orders. You're doing this on purpose, she hissed, leaning closer. You think you're irreplaceable? I've already got your replacement lined up. Someone from Portland who actually appreciates opportunity. Then have them upload the files, I suggested sweetly. Her hand shot up as if to slap me, but Patricia stepped forward. Ma'am, I need you to leave now. Charlotte stormed out, but not before her parting shot. You just destroyed your own future, you pathetic little. The door slammed shut. At 4 p.m., my phone exploded with messages. James Rodriguez, head of security, was on speaker with Marcus. Caroline, thank God. Charlotte just tried to override your security credentials, but the system locked me out. Says something about federal compliance protocols. I managed a small smile despite the pain. The waterfront project includes government subcontracts. My platinum badge is tied to federal security clearance. It can't be revoked without FBI notification and a formal investigation. Jesus. James laughed bitterly. She's screaming at the FBI field office right now, demanding they revoke your clearance immediately. In the background, I could hear Charlotte shrieking about national security and corporate espionage. James, I said, can you do me a favor? Send me the security footage of her trying to access my office. Already done. Also, Caroline, that Portland architect she's been courting? He just called. Says he can't start for 3 weeks, and definitely can't crack military-grade encryption. How unfortunate, I murmured. The board's called an emergency meeting for 5 p.m., James continued, discussing the penalty clause. $4.5 million due immediately if the files aren't submitted by tomorrow at 5. Tell them I'm indisposed, I said. Doctor's orders. Good luck, James said quietly. We're all rooting for you. After he hung up, Marcus raised his coffee cup in a silent toast. Your mother's daughter through and through. Tyler arrived at 7 p.m., looking like he'd aged 5 years in one day. His perfect suit was wrinkled, his silver hair disheveled. He stood in my doorway, holding a pathetic bouquet of grocery store flowers, the kind you grab in a desperate last-minute dash. Caroline, sweetheart, his voice cracked. I kept my eyes closed, listening to his expensive shoes shuffle on the linoleum. I know you're awake. The nurse said you've been conscious all day. Still, I didn't move. I'm sorry about the text, he continued. I didn't. Charlotte told me you just had a fender bender. She said you were being dramatic. My monitors betrayed me, my heart rate spiking. Please, Caroline, the company, our family legacy. It's all at stake. The board is threatening to remove me as CEO. He was begging now. Just tell me the password. You don't even have to come to the gala. Silence. I'll give you anything. Name your price. $1 million bonus. Your own division. Just please don't destroy everything we've built. We. As if he'd ever included me in that word. He moved closer and I finally opened my eyes. He actually startled at the sight of my face. The stitches, the purple-black bruising, the oxygen tube. My God, he whispered. You really could have died. Would you have left lunch for my funeral? I asked, my voice raspy. He flinched. That's not fair. Answer the question. Of course I would have. Liar. The word came out flat, devoid of emotion. Charlotte would have had another crisis. Maybe her dress wouldn't fit. Maybe the caterer would serve the wrong canapes, and you'd send flowers with a card saying, sorry for your loss, to your own daughter's funeral. Caroline, get out. He dropped the wilting flowers on my nightstand and left. At 8 p.m., Officer Patricia Hayes returned with coffee and a conspiratorial glint in her eye. So, she said, pulling up a chair, I've been thinking about your father. Join the club, I muttered. No, I mean legally thinking. She pulled out her notebook. Refusing to assist someone in medical distress, when you have the means to do so, it's not technically criminal, but it's definitely worth documenting, especially when that someone is your dependent. I'm 28, hardly a dependent. You're on his insurance. You work for his company. You were asking for help during a medical emergency. She tapped her pen. My sister went through something similar. Her ex-husband left her at the hospital during a miscarriage because his golf tournament was more important. The public shame was worse than any legal consequence. I studied her face. What are you suggesting? The gala tomorrow night. Four Seasons Ballroom. 200 of Seattle's most influential people, plus media coverage. She smiled. That's a lot of witnesses for a public safety announcement about emergency contact responsibilities. You in, Caroline? I've been a cop for 15 years, she continued. I've seen every kind of family dysfunction imaginable, but a father who texts call an Uber to his dying daughter? She shook her head. That's a new low. Plus, it's technically my duty to follow up with emergency contacts who fail to respond appropriately. Tyler will have his lawyers. I'm not arresting him. I'm just delivering a public safety reminder about the importance of emergency contacts taking their responsibilities seriously. If he happens to be the example I use, well, she shrugged. Educational moments can happen anywhere. The gala's at 8 p.m. He'll be at the head table with Charlotte and the board. Perfect. Maximum visibility. She stood to leave. Wear something memorable tomorrow night. If you're going to burn bridges, might as well do it in style. After she left, I called Marcus. I need a favor. Can you get me discharged by tomorrow afternoon? That's medically inadvisable, he said. So is choosing lunch over my life. Get me out, Marcus. I have a gala to attend. Caroline, what are you planning? Justice, I said simply. The kind that comes with 200 witnesses. November 17th, 6 p.m. The Four Seasons ballroom glittered, crystal chandeliers casting rainbows. 200 place settings, 200 influential people. I watched from across the street, leaning heavily on a cane, my ribs screaming despite the painkillers. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I saw Tyler rehearsing his speech about family values and building legacies. Charlotte, in a gold Versace gown, floated between tables, playing the perfect corporate wife. David Chun, CEO of the Waterfront Investment Group, paced near the bar, phone glued to his ear, agitated. Tyler always called him David Smith to his face. The casual racism never quite hidden. My phone showed 53 missed calls from Tyler, 20 from Charlotte. Then a text from the CFO. Board voted. If files aren't submitted by 8 p.m. tonight, you're terminated with cause, forfeiting all severance and benefits. 8 p.m. The exact moment Tyler would be mid-speech, celebrating a deal that no longer existed. Marcus appeared beside me. You sure about this? You can barely stand. I've stood for worse, I replied, adjusting my simple black sheath dress. It hid most of my bandages, but I left the bruises on my face and stitches across my forehead visible. Battle scars deserve to be seen. Your badge? Marcus asked. I held up the platinum security card, the only key to $15 million. Inside, reporters set up cameras. Tyler had ensured maximum coverage for his triumph. Officer Hayes is already inside, Marcus reported. At the bar in full uniform. Good. What about the files? Marcus smiled. Safe in my office vault. Ready if you decide to release them. If, I corrected. Charlotte tapped a champagne flute. The show was about to begin. By 7:30, panic hung in the air. David Chun cornered Tyler, red-faced. James, on speaker with Marcus, whispered updates. Chun just said if he doesn't see the designs in 30 minutes, he's walking. Tyler's hands are shaking. Charlotte had stopped floating. Now she was hunting, phone pressed to her ear. I could read her lips. Asterisk, find her. I don't care if she's dying. Find Caroline now. Asterisk, board members huddled, whispering. Reporters smelled blood. Minor technical delay with the file transfer. Tyler tried to stall. Chun barked. Bullshit. Either Tyler's lying or he's incompetent. At 7:45, Charlotte grabbed the mic, her smile brittle as glass. Ladies and gentlemen, a small connectivity issue. Enjoy champagne while our IT team resolves this minor hiccup. Minor hiccup? I watched her mascara begin to run from stress sweat. Is that what I am now? Tyler was in a corner frantically typing. Another message popped up on my screen. Caroline, I'm begging you. Don't do this to the family. The family. Not to me. Not to us. That abstract concept he'd hidden behind for years. At 7:55, Chun stood up, his entire investment team rising with him. That's our cue, I told Marcus. We entered through the main doors just as Chun declared, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is unacceptable, Tyler. If you can't deliver the basic files, how can we trust you with 15 million? Every head in the room swiveled. Officer Patricia Hayes moved through the crowd like a shark, her uniform cutting effortlessly through designer gowns and tuxedos. Her partner, Officer Williams, flanked her. They stopped directly in front of my father, who stood frozen, champagne glass halfway to his lips. The room fell silent. Mr. Tyler Irwin. Hayes's voice carried across the ballroom. Yes. Tyler's voice cracked. Is there a problem, officer? I'm Officer Patricia Hayes, Seattle PD. I need to speak with you about your failure to respond to an emergency contact notification regarding your daughter, Caroline Irwin. Charlotte's face drained of color. This is a private event, ma'am. This is a public safety matter. Hayes pulled out her notebook, every gesture deliberate, visible to the watching crowd. Mr. Irwin, on November 15th at 12:15 p.m., you were notified your daughter was in critical condition at Harborview Medical Center following a severe vehicle collision. Is that correct? There was a misunderstanding. Hayes continued, reading from her notes, loud enough for the reporters. Your text response to your critically injured daughter. At important lunch with Charlotte. Can't just leave. Call an Uber. End quote. You ungrateful. Tyler started to rise. Sit down, Dad. The edge in my voice was new even to me. He sat. I'm not ungrateful. I'm done being grateful for scraps from my own table. I looked at Charlotte, still being held by security. You wanted me gone? Congratulations. I submitted my resignation to the board 5 minutes ago, effective immediately. Gasps. Wells looked stricken. Caroline, surely we can. I've already accepted a position with Meridian Development, I announced, naming Irwin Holdings' biggest competitor. As senior partner with full equity participation, they value architects who actually design buildings, not just take credit for them. You can't. Tyler exploded. The non-compete clause doesn't apply when termination is constructive dismissal, Marcus chimed in from the board table. Failing to provide a safe working environment, systematic credit theft, and allowing workplace harassment all void that clause. I should know. I wrote it. I clicked to the final slide. A photo of my mother. Elena Irwin died believing her husband would protect her daughter. She was wrong. But she was right about one thing. I didn't need his protection. I needed to protect myself from him. Charlotte broke free, lunging towards me. You vindictive little bitch. You ruin everything. Security restrained her again, but not before cameras caught her designer shoe flying off, her perfect hair unraveling, her true nature fully exposed. No, Charlotte, I said calmly. You ruined everything the day you convinced my father that lunch with you was more important than his daughter's life. I just declined to fix it. The board was already huddled, their emergency meeting beginning without Tyler. Charlotte's complete unraveling happened in full view of Seattle's elite and every major media outlet. As security tried to escort her out, she broke free one more time, her golden Versace tearing. You think you've won? She shrieked at me, mascara streaming. You pathetic nobody. I made Tyler choose. Every single time I made him choose me over you. Asterisk. The room went silent. Even Tyler looked stunned. Every emergency, every crisis, I planned them all. She laughed hysterically. The migraines when you had presentations. The anxiety attacks during your meetings. God, he was so easy to manipulate. Wave a little distress, shed a few tears, and he'd abandon you every single time. Charlotte, stop talking. Tyler said weakly. Why? It's over anyway. She spun to face him. You spineless fool. Your daughter was the only one keeping your company afloat, and you let me convince you to destroy her. The prenup I signed? It only pays out if we're married 5 years. We've been married 3. I get nothing. She waved her phone wildly. And these credit cards? Already declined. Your board froze the accounts 10 minutes ago. Robert Winters, her ex-husband, stepped forward. Charlotte, you need help. Shut up, Robert. She hurled her clutch at him. You and your pathetic prenup lawyers. You all think you're so smart with your contracts and clauses. She turned back to me, face contorted with rage. But you? You're worse than all of them. You had everything. His love, his company, his legacy, and you threw it away for what? Principles. Dignity, I said simply. Exactly that. Security finally dragged her out, but not before her final scream echoed. Tyler, I never loved you. I just wanted the money. The ballroom doors closed on her shriek, leaving 200 people in stunned silence. Tyler sat at his table, looking like he'd aged a decade in 10 minutes. Harrison Wells called the emergency board meeting to order right there, the humiliation complete and public. Tyler Irwin, Wells began, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years in business. The board has lost all confidence in your leadership. The loss of the waterfront contract alone constitutes gross negligence. Harrison, please. Furthermore, Wells continued, we've just learned that our lead architect, responsible for 80% of our successful projects, was driven to resign due to your systematic marginalization and the hostile work environment you allowed your wife to create. Other board members nodded. Jennifer Park, the CFO, stood. I motion for an immediate vote of no confidence in Tyler Irwin as CEO of Irwin Holdings. 3 voices seconded it simultaneously. All in favor. Every hand raised but Tyler's. Motion carried. Tyler Irwin, you are hereby removed as CEO. Effective immediately. Wells announced James Rodriguez, our security director, as interim CEO. Jennifer Park added. The $4.5 million penalty for the failed waterfront deal will be paid from Tyler's personal assets, as stipulated in his CEO contract's liability clause. You can't do this. Tyler stood swaying. This is my father's company. My name is on the building. Your father's company, Wells said coldly, which you've just destroyed in a single evening. Your name will be removed within the week. A reporter shouted. Mr. Wells, what about Caroline Irwin? Wells looked at me with genuine regret. Miss Irwin, the board formally apologizes for failing to protect you. If you would consider staying. No, I said firmly. That bridge burned when my father chose lunch. The company Tyler had inherited, coasted on, and claimed credit for was no longer his. Tyler caught up to me in the parking garage, his designer shoes slapping against concrete as he ran. Marcus stepped protectively closer, but I held up my hand. Caroline, wait please. I turned slowly, leaning heavily on my cane. What could you possibly have to say now? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He was crying now, ugly sobs echoing off the concrete. Charlotte manipulated me. She poisoned me against you. I see that now. You see it now? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. When it's cost you everything. I'll divorce her immediately. I'll make you CEO. I'll sign everything over to you. He dropped to his knees on the oil-stained garage floor, his tuxedo ruined. You're my daughter. My only family. Please don't leave me. I was your daughter when I called from the ER too. I made a mistake. No, Dad. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. Choosing lunch while your daughter is dying? That's a choice. One you can't take back. He grabbed at my dress. You can't do this. I'm your father. Marcus stepped forward, gently but firmly removing Tyler's hands. Mr. Irwin, Caroline has made her position clear. She's my daughter. Tyler screamed. She owes me. I owe you nothing. I interrupted. Mom's the one who built the company's reputation with her designs. I'm the one who maintained it. You? You are just the name on the door. Caroline, please. Goodbye, Tyler. Marcus helped me into the car. As we drove away, I saw Tyler in the rearview mirror, still on his knees in the parking garage, surrounded by the debris of his choices. Are you okay? Marcus asked gently. I will be, I said. And for the first time in years I meant it. Monday morning 3 days later. Marcus's law firm conference room. Tyler sat across from me, flanked by 2 lawyers who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. He was hollow, unshaven, his usual commanding presence reduced to nothing. Marcus slid the first document across the table, a restraining order. Tyler couldn't come within 500 feet of me, my new workplace or my home. He signed it without protest. Next, the intellectual property claim. Caroline is seeking compensation for 5 years of unattributed work, plus damages for career suppression, Marcus explained. We're seeking $3 million. $3 million. Tyler's lawyer sputtered. Would you prefer we go to court? Marcus asked mildly. The evidence is comprehensive. Every email, every design, every instance of credit theft. The media would love a follow-up story. Tyler signed. Finally, Marcus said. The criminal complaint for reckless endangerment. Officer Hayes had filed charges based on Tyler's failure to provide aid during a medical emergency. That won't stick, Tyler's lawyer protested. Perhaps not, Marcus agreed. But the trial will be public. Every detail will be reported. Is that what you want, Mr. Irwin? Tyler finally looked at me. Really looked at me. What do you want, Caroline? Really want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences, I said. I want you to remember that you chose Charlotte over me when I was dying. And I want to never have to remind you again. He signed the last document with shaking hands. The payments would be structured over 2 years. Any missed payment? The restraining order was void, and the full amount plus penalties was due immediately. Tyler stood to leave, then paused. Caroline, I don't. Just don't. I cut him off. He left without another word. Within 2 hours of the gala, #DadChoseLunch was trending #1 on Twitter. Officer Hayes' confrontation video had 3 million views by morning. Headlines screamed, Billionaire's lunch break costs him everything. How Tyler Irwin lost $15 million in 11 words. The memes were brutal. Charlotte's meltdown was auto-tuned into a viral song. But the real explosion came when an investigative journalist published a deep dive into Tyler's history. Former employees he'd ripped off, contractors he'd stuffed. A pattern of exploitation. My LinkedIn exploded with job offers, interview requests. Meridian Development publicly announced my hiring with a full-page ad. Welcome Caroline Irwin. Where talent is recognized, not stolen. Tyler tried damage control, but it backfired spectacularly when Charlotte's security footage confession leaked. She disappeared from social media. Her last selfie flooded with 40,000 angry comments. The best part? Waterfront Investment Group hired me as a consultant for their new project. David Chen's statement was brief. We invest in integrity. Caroline Irwin has proven hers. By Friday, Irwin Holdings stock had dropped 40%. The empire built on my mother's talent and my sweat was crumbling. And the whole world was watching. 3 months later, February 2026. My new corner office at Meridian Development. Sunlight streamed through windows I'd chosen. No more hiding in shadows. My nameplate read, Caroline Irwin, Senior Partner and Lead Architect. Below it, a framed quote from my mom. Build your own foundation, sweetheart. Never let anyone else hold your blueprints. My team looked me in the eye. They used my name. When the CEO introduced me, he said, This is Caroline, the genius behind our new waterfront project. A $50 million project. Mine to lead. Full creative control. An equity stake that would set me up for life. My designs. My vision. My name on the final plans. My assistant knocked. Your 3 o'clock is here. Instead of a client, Marcus walked in with a smile and a bottle of champagne. Thought we should celebrate. Final payment from Tyler cleared today. All $3 million. Every penny. He'd sold the house to make the last payment. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. Also, Marcus continued, popping the cork. Officer Hayes wanted me to tell you that the community service portion of Tyler's sentence starts next week. He'll be teaching workplace safety, specifically the importance of emergency contacts. Poetic justice, I murmured. Your mother would be proud, Marcus said, raising his glass. You didn't just survive him, Caroline. You thrived despite him. We clinked glasses. I looked out at the bay at where my next project would rise. For the first time in my life, I wasn't Tyler Irwin's daughter. I was just Caroline. And that was more than enough. Charlotte Winters, no longer Irwin, became Seattle's cautionary tale. Her divorce from Tyler was finalized in record time. Tyler's lawyers arguing fraud and manipulation. That prenup? It held. 3 years meant zero payout. Marcus kept me updated. She tried to land another wealthy husband, but her meltdown video was everywhere. Robert, her ex-husband, helpfully shared their divorce records. By January, she was selling condos in Tacoma. Her Instagram, once designer goods and 5-star restaurants, went dark. The final indignity? She tried to sell her story to a tabloid, but the journalist fact-checked, found the contradictions, and instead published an article about gold diggers. Her last public appearance was a court hearing where Tyler sued her for $20,000 in charges she'd made on company cards for her fake emergencies. She showed up in that same golden Versace gown, now obviously altered and worn. The judge ordered full restitution. Last I heard, she was living in a studio apartment in Renton, the kind she'd once mocked me for considering. Karma, it seems, keeps excellent records. Tyler's fall from grace was complete by spring. He couldn't get a table at restaurants where he'd been a regular. His country club membership was revoked. He kept 20% of his net worth, enough to live on, not enough to matter. He moved from his Medina mansion to a 2-bedroom apartment in Bellevue. Nice by normal standards, humiliating by his. The drinking started shortly after. He sent me letters, actual handwritten ones. I returned them unopened. Marcus read them for legal purposes. They evolved from angry blame to self-pity, to desperate bargaining, to what might have been genuine remorse. The last one simply said, "I chose wrong. I'm sorry." In May he entered rehab. Not the luxury kind Charlotte would have demanded, but a state-funded program at Harborview, the same hospital where I'd nearly died. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. His therapist reached out, asking if I'd consider family counseling. I declined. Some bridges once burned are meant to stay ash. Tyler Irwin, who'd inherited an empire and claimed credit for its growth, was now just another cautionary tale about choosing ego over family, lunch over love. August 2026. Tyler had been sober for 90 days when his therapist called again. Marcus advised me to listen. "He's not asking for forgiveness," Dr. Patricia Kelman explained. "He's asking for the chance to earn it. There's a difference." We met at her office, neutral ground. Tyler's letter was waiting. 3 pages of accountability, no excuses, just an acknowledgement of his choices and their consequences. At the bottom, a proposal. "I want to be your father. Not your boss. Not your burden. Just your father. If you'll let me try." He listed his promises. Weekly therapy, no business talk, public meetings only, no requests for money or favors. "I will earn my place in your life or accept my absence from it." I sat with that letter for a week, talked to my therapist, called my mother's sister. "Elena would want you to do what brings you peace, not what looks right," she said. Finally, I sent my response through Marcus. 1 coffee. Public place. 30 minutes. Bring your therapist. If you mention Irwin Holdings, Charlotte, or ask for anything beyond this meeting, we're done forever. He agreed immediately. We met at a Starbucks in Fremont, far from both our worlds. He looked older but clearer. The bloat of alcohol gone. The arrogance replaced by something I'd never seen before. Humility. "Hi, Caroline," he said simply. "Hello, Tyler," I replied. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a reunion. It was just a beginning. The first honest one we'd ever had. 1 year later, I stood before 200 young architects at the University of Washington, teaching a masterclass on professional integrity. My mother's photo sat on the podium beside my laptop. "Your talent is yours," I told them. "Document everything. Set boundaries early. And never, ever let anyone make you small so they can feel big." A young woman raised her hand. "What if it's family taking credit? How do you stand up to that?" I smiled. Family doesn't entitle anyone to your work or your worth. Blood relation isn't a license to exploit. My foundation, the Elena Irwin Fund for Workplace Equality, had helped 17 young professionals escape similar situations. Each one reminded me why I'd made my choice that day in the hospital. My phone buzzed. A text from my boyfriend James, the security director who'd become interim CEO, then a friend, then more. "Dinner at 7, that new place by the water." I quickly responded. "Be there. Promise." And I would be. Because I'd learned to prioritize the people who prioritized me, to show up for those who'd show up for me. My mother's photo caught the afternoon light, and I could almost hear her voice. "You built your own foundation, sweetheart." "Yes, Mom," I whispered. I finally did. Looking back, I realized that car accident didn't just break my ribs. It broke the last chains holding me to a toxic legacy. Tyler choosing lunch wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the brutal revelation of betrayals that had been happening for years. People ask if I regret letting the waterfront deal die. I tell them, I regret staying silent for 5 years while my father sold my talent as his own. I regret every birthday Charlotte ruined. I regret not believing I was worth more than their scraps. But that November day when Tyler chose lunch over my life, that's the day I finally chose myself. And I've chosen myself every single day since. Success tastes different when it has your name on it. Love feels different when it comes from people who would drop anything to be there for your emergency. Family means something different when it's built on respect, not just blood. Your worth isn't determined by those who refuse to see it. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to appreciate it. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to save people from the consequences of their own choices. He chose lunch. I chose my life. And I choose it again. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you or someone you know is being taken for granted by toxic family members, please share this video so they know it's okay to choose yourself. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more stories about setting boundaries and recognizing your worth. And please, tell me your own experiences with family drama in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be someone's priority, not their option.